guys? JD from New York here. Thank you so much for joining me right here for AEW Dynamite. On off the script, it is Wednesday, May 6th, 2020, and tonight was a sense of normalcy, a sense of going back to the way things should be for AEW, not just AEW, but professional wrestling as well. Dynamite live for the first time in what seems to be forever, coming from Jacksonville, Florida at the Daly's Place. And it was an absolutely just down to it 2 hours that flew by. I looked at my clock at 8 o'clock. I sat down with dinner. And before you know it, the show was over. That's how I know that I enjoyed myself during a professional wrestling show. And I hope you guys are enjoying the review tonight, because I don't have Ticket Drew, you fucking savages out there who castrated him on the last couple of times he was on. I have replaced him with my good buddy Jesse. As you guys know, we did the AEW All Out review together. You guys have been asking for him to come back on the channel to talk AEW. He's an AEW entrepreneur. He is a AEW connoisseur. So you know you're getting top tier level AEW opinion from Jesse. Jesse, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Long time no see.
I know. What'd you think of this show tonight, man? Tell me that
man,
tag team match wasn't one of the best free fights that you have ever seen on television.
Man, it made me nervous for a second, but man, it was good. It was good. The only reason it made me nervous because I thought I knew who was going to take the pinfall, but it didn't happen.
And we'll go over what made you nervous, because I'm pretty sure what made you nervous made me nervous. Kenny Omega almost fucking killing himself.
Oh, man.
Dude. I'm gonna let it be known right now, there was no error at all in Kenny Omega's fucking moonsault. He nailed it perfectly. He nailed it perfect. There was two things that were gonna happen. A, he was gonna flip and kill himself, or B, flip and absolutely execute the best looking moonsault that I think I've ever seen, and he nailed the fucking thing, man. Holy shit.
That was incredible, man. I mean, it's second best. We know who the greatest moonsault in the wrestling is, right?
Please don't tell me it's Charlotte.
Come on, I wouldn't do that to you.
Is it the eventual loser tonight?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, I don't know. Maybe, man. Maybe. Who knows?
By the way, folks, that's a spoiler, not a prediction. So I just want you guys to be aware of that, please. I mean, you fucking idiots out there thinking Io's gonna win the title. You guys are a bunch of idiots, man. Anyway, yeah. Jesse, we had a great show tonight. We had that street fight. We had Matt Hardy making his AEW debut tonight. Variations of Matt Hardy tonight. We go from, I guess, kind of semi-broken Matt Hardy to version 1 Matt Hardy to the ice machine spitting out Damascus tonight. It was fucking crazy.
Guy was all over the place. He went through his whole career in one match. It was awesome, man.
So we had that. We had the street fight, him and Omega teaming up against Jericho and Sammy Guevara. They were labeling themselves as the Les Sex Gods tonight. And they lived up to that moniker because they absolutely killed it in the street fight tonight. Jon Moxley in action against Frankie Kazarian. I have my reservations about that one, but it looks like we have the title match set for Double or Nothing, and we'll obviously go over that as well tonight. Cody versus Joey Janela. That was on the show tonight, getting ready for the pay-per-view with Cody, him going into this highly competitive match with Joey Janela tonight before he goes on to what I think eventually lose to Lance Archer in the finals of the TNT Championship Tournament. And QT Marshall, speaking of Lance Archer, got destroyed by Lance Archer tonight. And man, wait till we break down this match. What happened to it, man? Bro, you afraid of snakes?
Boy, it's been a long time, man. I've been missing Damien, man.
It was Damien Jr. you said it was, right?
Damien, maybe
Damien's
Damien the third. Yeah, really, man. It's been a few generations. How long do snakes live? I don't know.
But Jake was there doing his thing. Brandy was there. Very uncomfortable for her, I'm sure. It would have been for me. I'm a pussy. I hate snakes. But we'll talk about that as well. And your boy, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, returned from his injury. And he is back on television.
Where he belongs.
But what did he say tonight? He's overhealed?
Yeah, he's overhealed. I mean, who thinks of this stuff?
I don't know, man. But MJF is back. We'll see what happens with him and where he fits into the AEW Championship title picture, because he is actually undefeated. He is undefeated on AEW television. So we'll talk about that and where he goes from here. Beautiful. But thank you guys again for joining me. Again, follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Very important. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to, I would greatly appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. I don't know why you guys wouldn't, because it helps out the video. It helps out the channel getting into the recommended portion on YouTube. So I would really appreciate that. If you guys want to check out all the other videos that I have uploaded on the channel, Monday Night Raw, we got off the script from this past week and some good stuff there, including the Monday Night Raw review, like I said, which accumulated the worst rating in the history of Monday Night Raw, which is a common theme going week by week here as we get into the summer. Jesse, 1.6 on Monday Night Raw. Any thoughts?
Fitting.
It is fitting. Absolutely fitting. I laugh at it so badly. They deserve it. And with The Rock coming with the Titan games, I'm predicting a 1.4. And at that point, we'll be looking at NXT and AEW combination of ratings being better than Monday Night Raw on Monday.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's
perfect.
It's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens with Monday Night Raw if Vince changes his tune. But forget Monday Night Raw. Forget all the bullshit that we had on Monday. We had a great night of wrestling tonight. And let's get into the open of the show. Cody versus Joey Janela. This was, in my eyes, a very good opener. I don't know if it needed to go the length that it did, but it was a very good opener. They opened up the match. Cody hit a series of shoulder tackles. They traded a series of pinfall combinations, quick 2 counts. Cody hit a delayed vertical suplex for a near fall. Joey Janela still has better hair than anybody not named AJ Styles. Janela uses a series of strikes to take over. Janela blocked the crossroads and sent Cody into the middle rope with a drop toe hold. Janela then used the body scissors and slowed the pace down. Match built to the outside. Janela whipped Cody into the barricade and connected with a series of forearms. They brawled onto the ramp. And then Janela disappears into one of the tunnels, comes running out. This is something that Cody has been doing recently. And he runs, and Cody tripped him onto the top rope. So that failed for Joey Janela. And Cody blocked that with a disaster kick. So Cody hit a moonsault off the stage, back inside the ring. Cody hit a pump kick. Janela answered with a big boot, and then hit a top rope elbow drop for a near fall, which I think Joey Janela has a beautiful-looking elbow drop. Cody hit an inverted suplex for a 2 count. Cody then removed his weight belt. Janela blocked the crossroads, hit a back elbow. Cody went for a cutter, but Janela turned it into a German suplex. Cody then took a bump off of Janela's lariat, almost landed on top of his head. Janela then missed a moonsault, rolled through it very sloppily. Cody came off the top rope, hit a cutter for a 2 count, and then we seen the finish where the two traded a series of punches. Slugfest ensued towards the end of this thing. Janela went to hit the ropes. Cody grabbed him and hit crossroads out of nowhere for the win. Cody gets I don't want to say a big win, but an impressive win over a hard-fought match with Joey Janela on his way to Lance Archer at Double or Nothing. Jesse, did this match need to go the length that it did? And does going the distance here with Joey Janela take away from what Cody's going to have to eventually put up with Lance Archer?
No, I don't think so. The match went long, but I think for me, it kind of set the tone for our reintroduction of the live shows. You know, with the tape shows, there was a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of pre-recorded this and promo here, and they didn't want to get too fixated on recorded matches, and they just wanted to get back into live action. And with the open air and the daylight and with the more people around the sidelines, it felt like a normal show. Well, more of a normal show. And it didn't feel like it kind of dragged. And with Cody getting a win over a non-jobber, someone who has a name on the show at least, it built up Joey a little bit. He hung in there with someone who's about to go in for the TV title, and Cody still gets the win. I mean, I think it was a solid match. It was pretty good for a TV match for me.
Yeah, Joey Janela's hit and miss for me, man. I don't know what you think of Janela, but I feel like when Janela is on, he can be very good. I was wondering about what would happen with Joey Janela joining AEW or something like an AEW where he can't really rely on what brought him to the dance. He comes into AEW, he's eventually going to have to change his game up. And, to be fair to him, and, a lot of people don't like Joey Janela for what he did previously, but he's in somewhat of the big leagues now, and he's delivered great matches with Kenny Omega. This was a very good match with Cody. Are people sleeping on Joey Janela, and can he be more than what we've seen presented to us by AEW with Janela?
Well, I think what they did when they picked Joey, I think they kind of planned on having a division form around him. That's why they picked up. You kind of see him pick up a hardcore division. They picked up
Jimmy Havoc.
They picked up Havoc. And they picked up Moxley. I mean, God, Moxley can go in any kind of match with anyone.
Matches with Moxley too, but those are
exactly.
Those are more, his bread and butter. Those matches.
Exactly. And that's what they do. So I mean, it kind of feels like they kind of had that in mind when they picked up Joey. Like they got Havoc, they got Joey, they got Moxley, and they got Kenny who loves doing these kind of matches. I mean, as you can tell by the report I sent you earlier, they got in a little bit of trouble. And then in Maryland. So
I don't know. What he's talking about, guys, what Jesse's talking about is Maryland, state of Maryland, the Athletic Commission fined AEW $10,000 for the unsanctioned match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. I didn't really read the story. I read the headline because I looked at it when Jesse sent it to me, and I'm like, that's fucking ridiculous. I mean, A, what is $10,000 to Tony Khan? And B, why are they fining them over what? I mean, it happened. When did that happen? At All Out, right? No, it wasn't All Out.
Yeah,
it was that. Full Gear.
It was It was the Blood and Guts match, or not the Blood and Guts match.
No, I think it was Full Gear. Yeah, because I remember Full Gear because I remember Moxley being speared through the fucking gear, the light that looked like the gear on the stage.
Right. I mean, it was 10,000. It may have been more or less about, hey, we took notice, don't do it again type deal. So if they came back to Maryland and did it again, it wouldn't be just $10,000. It'd be a little bit more serious.
Yeah,
so
well, I don't think anything like that's going to be happening anytime soon anyway. So I think they're in the clear with that.
No.
But as far as this goes, we're heading into Double or Nothing. Early predictions on Cody and Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. Do you see Cody walking out and him finally getting a championship, or is it pretty much undeniable that Lance Archer is going to remain undefeated? He's the real monster among men. He's not boring like a certain monster in WWE that's carrying around a silly blue championship. But is Lance Archer destined to become the first ever TNT champion?
They could probably go either way on it. Personally, I don't know. I would probably go with Cody.
Certainly seems that way after his wife got fucking defiled tonight, right?
Sorry. I would probably go with Cody. Yeah. I mean, because if you look at it, it could bring him and MJF full circle. What if Cody wins this title? What if MJF gets so triggered and upset that Cody has a title when he wasn't supposed to, quote unquote, have a title? So Cody went and made another title so he can have a title. So MJF, maybe they want title versus title. Just brainstorming here,
you're telling me that AEW is going to give us, possibly. I'm not saying this; they're legitimately going to give this to us, but your I think maybe fantasy booking here, a scenario where you mean to tell me someone has to win a mid-card championship to eventually be brought up to the main event championship in MJF? Wow,
it sounds crazy. It sounds
so crazy. I never heard of that before.
I mean, all they have to do is have Cody just beat MJF or Moxley, and then he gets a title shot, right?
You mean to tell me that MJF doesn't have to beat a champion to get a title shot?
No, not at all. It's weird.
Man, this is foreign to me, man. I've never seen this shit before.
But if you think about it, though, no, seriously, if you think about it, so they got Moxley, they build him up. He's, believe it or not, probably going to roll through everyone for a few more months. He loses to MJF. Cody gets the TV title. Cody gets some defenses under his belt. Cody, MJF, they hate each other for life. They come back together, but Cody can't go for that title, but he has a title, something shiny, something that MJF might want. Maybe he says, screw it, lift the restrictions, title for title, make a super megastar.
I think Tony Khan knows what he's got in MJF. I could absolutely see that happening with him going that route and them taking that route with him, where he doesn't lose a fucking match. He doesn't lose a match because, no matter how snivelly and how fucking slimy and grimy of a heel he is, and that can be interpreted on some people and some people's opinions as, oh, this guy's weak, or they're making him look weak and they're making him look like a coward, but that's what we grew up watching. That's why I loved Ravishing Rick Rude, and I loved guys like that. And, guys, Bobby the Brain Heenan was the best at that. Guys who portray a heel like that, to me, you can't get any better. It's a lost art. And with MJF, as long as he keeps getting those W's, it doesn't fucking matter, because everyone's going to shit on him and everyone's going to hate him anyway for all the right reasons. And then when he becomes the champion eventually, my God, man, when we get back to a live crowd, it's going to be like a fucking volcano erupts in that arena.
Yeah, when it comes to a big time heel like that, you can go on a ridiculous winning streak and it's okay. I mean, you can't do that with a baby face for too long; it will get very stale. But MJF can win straight up and clean. He can win by interference with Wardlow. He can win by opportunity from someone getting their match interfered with by another feud by them somewhere else. He can win by a few different ways. It doesn't have to be he's a heel, so it gets to be a fuck finish every time. No, you can mix it up. Let's make sure he doesn't win by screwy means every time. He has to win clean sometimes, most of the time. But for matches that he should not be winning against guys that he should not be beating, fuck finish. I mean, screw it all up, and that can be the getaway. But yeah, the cleaner MJF's record stays, the more hated he becomes, and the better it will be for that first baby face to get the first clean victory over MJF.
Absolutely.
I love it.
You see, folks, you see how simple it is to book someone like MJF. What do I always say on the podcast when you guys listen to me? How heels do not need to cheat every single fucking time to win. It devalues them as a pro wrestler, and it devalues their character, because when you see Zelina Vega helping Andrade against the most fucking just, useless guys that they got on the roster, he doesn't need to do that. He should be good enough to beat those guys, and if he's really at the edge of his fucking seat in a championship match, that's when you have Zelina Vega jump off the ring apron and do a Hurricane Rana on somebody, take him out, distract the referee, and then Andrade can do what he needs to do. That was just one example, but that's how easy it is. In WWE and AEW, the comparisons have been there. They've booked MJF properly, correctly, brilliantly, and those are the differences between what makes AEW, in my eyes, just fundamentally more sound than the WWE. Exactly what Jesse said. It's not that difficult, folks. It's not rocket science. So, you mentioned Jim Ross. I forgot to mention in the beginning, Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. Man, Jim Ross sounded fucking just, it was almost as if he woke up from a beautiful sleep. He sounded refreshed. He sounded on. He sounded a little bit more excited tonight about the storylines. Is it possible that him sitting around with Excalibur and Taz, now I watched a couple of their live streams back, is it possible sitting down with those guys that he finally just committed to the storylines? He's now more in the know. He understands more, and he can apply that to the television show, and that's why he came off more excited tonight?
It could be. When you're sitting at home watching it from an at-home standpoint, and I'm sure he can't help but bruise Twitter once in a while, you can kind of see what you're seeing on TV versus how the fans are absorbing it and what they're saying about it as the show goes on. So now when Jim goes back to live and he already knows what the fans are feeling, what the fans are thinking, and everything else, he can kind of incorporate that. And yeah, he sounded a little bit more spry this week, man. He was into it. He had names down. And Jim was all over. Maybe it was maybe it's quarantine, man. Maybe he was sitting at home. He got bored. He was so happy to be out amongst people, he couldn't help but go back into 1999 Ross mode,
Yeah, I could see that, and that's a good point too. I mean, what do you think the fans are gonna do? If Jim Ross is that excited, just coming out of stay-at-home order to go back to work, imagine what the fans are gonna do and the reaction the fans are gonna give when they actually are allowed back in the arena again. Which it looks like we've seen some tonight.
Yeah, in the concourse area,
but they were there. Imagine the reaction it's gonna be when you pack 1,000, 2,000 people when you got some of those restrictions lifted, 25%, 50%. Hopefully by the time Double or Nothing happens, it's going to be crazy. Something I'm going to be looking forward to. But, yeah, I could definitely see that. And I was just happy to see Jim Ross back tonight with Excalibur. And Tony Schiavone did the great thing tonight. And Tony Schiavone, speaking of Tony, he was in a pre-match promo with Nyla Rose, everybody's favorite female wrestler. And we got Nyla Rose versus Kenzie Page. So Schiavone interviewed Rose on stage, she asked Schiavone who he thinks is the most dominant force in AEW. She interrupted and she answered the question for him and yelled that it is her and will always be her, was always her. She told Schiavone to get his ass over at the commentary desk and do his job. Ross said Schiavone won't have the type of relationship with Nyla that he has with Britt. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. And speaking of Nyla Rose, she went up against Kenzie Page, 18-year-old, trained in Knoxville, Tennessee by Dr. Tom Pritchard. If you guys remember the Heavenly Bodies managed by my good buddy Jim Cornette, Dr. Tom Pritchard and Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey back in the early 90s. And we got also Ricky Morton thrown in there. So she's got a wide variety of influence here. Rose gave Page a nasty back suplex. Minute in, MJF was at ringside with a Burberry mask. I don't know if you caught that, buddy.
That's awesome.
He had a Burberry
who does
mask.
that?
Who the fuck does that, you said, right?
Come on. That's awesome.
He's sitting at ringside. He's
fucking designer face mask.
He's got the Burberry mask. And he told the camera guy to back away because of social distancing. Of course he did. Ross flipped. Ross. I'm thinking about Jim Ross. Fucking Nyla Rose dove off the top rope with a senton onto Kenzie Page. When she covered Page, she lifted her shoulders up to continue the beating. This was an old-fashioned, old-school beatdown here, squash match. Then they showed Sheeta at ringside. She looked concerned. Britt Baker was at ringside. We had the Alien, Chris Statlander at ringside. Rose continued with a series of power bombs, 2 power bombs, and then into the Batista bomb, which he calls the Beast Bomb, for the win. This was a enhancement match pretty much for Nyla Rose to get her back on TV. She's been very, just, I guess, an afterthought in the women's division. And this was a great showcase for what she could do and her dominance. And, this was what I call a squash match. This is legitimately a squash match. She looked great. And what'd you think of Nyla Rose tonight?
She did look good. I mean, it was definitely a squash. I mean, I kind of anticipated a few squash matches tonight. I mean, they've been non-live a few weeks. They got to get the audience reacclimated with the talent that they were pushing and everything else. And since Nyla was, for whatever reasons, quarantined or unable to travel, whatever her reasons were, unable to get to the tapings. So, we haven't seen a champion in a while. Same for Moxley. We got to get the champions back on TV and, in a winning way again.
Moving on with that, enough Nyla Rose. I mean, nobody's here to watch fucking us talk about Nyla Rose. It is what it is. Who do you just as a prediction? Obviously there's a fatal 4-way next week. Does Nyla Rose lose the title at Double or Nothing to a Hikaru Shida or a Chris Statlander or your favorite Britt Baker, who they touted as a huge possibility as a number 1 contender, or does she continue and dominate the women's division? What do they do with it? Who do they give it to, if they give it to her?
Who's Britt Baker?
The dentist.
Never heard of her.
The one that's married to...
Never heard of her.
Bebe.
No, yeah. Oh, you mean Eva?
Yeah, yeah. Well, which some people think is over the top. I mean, Eva was better looking, but she was awful.
All right, look, man. Is she as bad as Eva Marie? No. Is she good? No, man. She's not good. And to be the first overall female pick for... No, man. No.
Does she have the potential to be good?
Potential is a beautiful thing, man. When she gets there, I mean, I will praise her, but she's not there. She is not there.
Let me rephrase what you just said. When she gets there, you'll let me know, right?
I'll let you know when she gets there. You think she's there already, so you have no idea what.
I think she's come, I guess, out of that horrendous bubble that she was in. Now she's decent.
Oh, When did she turn heel? What else did she do?
I mean, well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, she turned heel, and she found out that she sounds ridiculous, and she kept running with the gimmick. And look, I'll admit, I've been entertained by her for the last few weeks from her promos and her packages, not from her in-ring ability.
All right, well,
and she turned heel.
Well, we'll see if she gets there. I'm not advocating for Britt Baker hour over here. I'm just saying, you got to give the woman some sort of credit for pulling her out of this fucking doldrum that she was in to at least get on the right path, right?
Yep, she wrestled her way out of it. It's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about somebody that you are very fond of. MJF sat in a room, and it looked to be some type of penthouse, empty condo. Clearly, it was all CGI'd.
Green screen.
Yeah. He said he's the next big thing. After being on national television for just 5 or 6 months, he said, nobody wants to admit it because they all hate his guts. He said he's being compared to legends like Ric Flair, The Rock, Roddy Piper. And I don't know if you could put him in the same class as Ric Flair or Roddy Piper or The Rock, but given the guy that he's 24 years old, he's got every ounce of talent to be in that class when all is said and done. He said when people say he can't live up to them, it's a sign of insecurity by other wrestlers. He said they think he's a 24-year-old kid who is taking their spot. He said he's a prodigy bell to bell who will be a champion before a blink of an eye and who has more it factor in his pinky than all wrestlers do in their entire bodies. He says he's not The Rock, Ric Flair, or Piper. Instead, he said he's something the sport has never seen before. He said that's why he can afford to miss some TV time and lick his wounds and drink some fine wine and watch some old school wrestling because he knows when he comes back to work that his spot on the throne will be right where it is when he left and without a solitary scratch. Then they take the chair that he was sitting in. He got two, off-camera goons come in and give him a king-like throne. And he said next week he sits back on his throne, with the throne pretty much sitting there as a fine backdrop for what he wanted to say there. MJF being back on television, where does he fit into the grand scheme of things on AEW television? I know we talked about what you think with the TNT Championship. Where do they go from here with MJF, and who do they feud him with? Because as of tonight, the match was made. It was Jungle Boy and MJF at Double or Nothing. Is it going to be a one-off with Jungle Boy? And if so, who is MJF going to move on to next after this?
It feels like they have MJF in a holding pattern as they square away a couple of things, because even though the match with Jungle Boy should be good and everything else, we know that that's not a goal for them for MJF. But at the same time, it's going to be entertaining. So they have a few things to square away. They have to get situated with Mox and his feuds. They got to figure out what's going on with Cody and his title, with Archer and everything else. I think they kind of need MJF to kind of just be there and be on top and just hold on, because when they're ready for him, they're gonna put him right into that top picture. Let me ask you this: MJF is 24. You said, right?
Yes, 24.
How old was? You mentioned The Rock. How old was The Rock when he won his first WWF title? I believe he was 26.
Yeah, he was around the same age range. He was around the same age.
Yeah, I believe he was 26. So, can you see MJF winning the AEW title within 2 years?
Absolutely.
I can.
I think they'd be foolish not to put it on.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I kind of put him in the category to be discussed along with The Rock, but not just because of the age and the world title picture. But if you look at it, The Rock was champion at 26, and nobody questioned it as far as, oh, he's too young, he shouldn't be here. Everybody said, oh, this guy, yeah, he's ready, he's fine.
If you would have put yourself in Tony Khan's position, with Jon Moxley obviously coming out of the last couple of weeks' TV shows, I don't think anybody really knew who his opponent was going to be after he took care of Jake Hager. You know, people were guessing it could have been Brody Lee. It could have been MJF. It could have been a rematch against Chris Jericho. It could have been Jake Hager again. We just didn't know. And we got the solid concrete answer tonight with Moxley and Brody Lee, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Put yourself in Tony Khan's shoes. Is he making an executive decision on MJF not going after Moxley, because he could very well have done that? Is he making an executive decision because of you thinking that they're putting MJF in a holding pattern, or is MJF's title victory eventually, when it happens, because it's eventually going to happen, when it happens, is he holding off on that for the right moment? Because obviously we can all sit here and say that these shows suck. Well, tonight's show didn't suck, but the wrestling in general sucks without fans. But with MJF not winning the title right now, that would be a good thing for them, right? Because he needs that live fan interaction. MJF winning the championship in front of a packed house is what they're eventually going to go and want to do, right?
Yeah. No, it's a little bit too soon right now. Plus, with all of the COVID stuff going on, you don't wanna put MJF in that spot yet. And I mentioned the CV things because Moxley didn't really get a chance to be champion. You know, being champion and being off TV and being in front of empty crowds, that's not being champion. So I would take all of the days that he had as champion and just kind of just 86 them. You need to get Moxley back in front of a live crowd and beating opponents in front of people, making those opponents better and building up his championship reign is better. He needs to be a bigger and better champion for MJF to defeat. Because right now, beating him just means nothing because he didn't get a chance to be champion because of everything going on. It's not his fault at all. So when you get it finished building up Moxley and making him dominant, then you pounce on MJF beating him, and then I would do it in screwy fashion because we're gonna make Moxley as dominant as possible. And cowardly MJF, how can he beat a dominant Moxley like that? He's gonna cheat. Then he's gonna become a dominant champion during his reign. So I can understand that. But yeah, you gotta build up Moxley a little bit more, put it on the MJF. And then you can have a rivalry right there. You can go into Cody right there. You can branch off into so many other different avenues. MJF is as flexible. MJF can feud with other heels, and he is more of a heel than another heel. This guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's like almost fucking super powerful. You put him against another heel, he's probably going to turn that heel babyface about.
Yep.
Yep.
You know. Yeah, good.
But the point you made with Moxley, I could absolutely see that being the case. And one of those guys I think that they could put him up against, not saying I want to see a long extended feud, but Shawn Spears, clearly they're doing something with Shawn Spears. I don't know whether they're going to book long term with Shawn Spears, or he was one of those guys that they use as a handy guy and one of those guys that was around just because he was around during those empty arena shows that they did, those tape shows. But Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley could be a nice 1 month feud, you know, spanning over AEW television. He was actually in a video package on Lance Archer bloodying and defeating Dustin Rhodes last week, which was awesome.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't blame Dustin for competing in the match or Archer for executing the beating, but Cody letting it happen. Spears says if his one brother, who is 11 years younger than him, was ever in danger, he would do everything in his power to stop it. I would shield him. I would protect him. But you decided not to do that, didn't you, Cody? So he asked if he's selfish and wants to be the only one carrying on the Rhodes family legacy. He said he couldn't live with watching his brother take such a beating, but Cody already shown that he can. Now, I'm loving, the one thing here that I'm loving is the continuity between Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears, and I love that, you know, Shawn Spears is really placing blame on Cody here, because one of the best things about last week's show was the fact that Cody allowed Dustin to do that, and when Lance Archer actually beat Dustin, Cody was just in the ring, just, you know, laying there with Dustin, and Lance Archer was just standing there like, yeah, motherfucker, I just left your brother laying in a pool of blood. I'm going to do the same thing to you on May 23rd. What do you think about Shawn Spears, you know, in a higher profile than what we've seen of him on AEW television, and do you see any real direction coming from AEW in regards to Shawn Spears?
I think he's going to stay in the mid-card area. I think they got him in a nice spot. I mean, he's obviously in a better spot than he was with his last employer. But he can be kind of interchanged in that kind of mid-card title area. So he's right around with the TV title and right around there. That's where Shawn Spears needs to be.
Is this a precursor to what you said before with Cody eventually or possibly beating Lance Archer? Could we be looking at Cody's first opponent lined up for the TNT title, being that they're almost foreshadowing Spears and Cody here?
It could be. It really could be. And that's the part I like about it. I mean, these feuds that Cody have, he seems to be at the top or right around the top of every division he's in. So he was in the world title picture and he was right at the top. Now he's in the mid-card title picture and there he is again right on the top. You can put him in the tag title picture and he'll be in the same thing. And that title and that feud becomes top tier and that much more important because Cody being in it makes him that much more important. And he's going to make his opponent even better. His opponents, every opponent that Cody's had and every feud he's had, the opponent has come out looking better than they did when they left, when they entered in, and they lost the feud. So that's how you make new stars.
Yeah, and I think, I honestly think, just discussing this here with you tonight, I honestly think there's more upside to Cody beating Lance Archer than there is Lance Archer beating Cody, because just like you just said, Cody's going to make Lance Archer look like he won the fucking title without actually him winning the title on May 23rd. There's no doubt, because everything that Cody's done, he's been just ingrained in this beautiful storytelling that, like you said, always enhances his opponent, and he's suffered a lot of losses. During these big matches, he's beaten Shawn Spears, he's beaten his brother, but the MJF loss was kind of coming to him. And I honestly think he needs a big win on pay-per-view. He's been giving so much of himself to put others over. I honestly think it's about time we start seeing Cody kind of give himself a bone, Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, Lance Archer will be fine. Yeah. He will be fine. But this title is just coming around. They need it on Cody to make the title important. Remember what I just said about Cody's matches and how everybody came out looking better? Well, now you put a title on Cody and now have all these people go up against title matches. I'm envisioning the John Cena Open Challenge.
Not even that, dude. I don't know if it's going to have the same rules as the TV title, but I'm just thinking months down the line. I mean, you got feuds lined up for the rest of the year, legitimately, for Cody Rhodes if he wins the TNT title. Darby Allin, number one. You think Darby Allin doesn't want revenge over Cody Rhodes? MJF, which is a no-brainer. Shawn Spears, a rematch with Archer, right? You could go Brody Lee if you want to do that as well. I mean, you got so many options there. Cody just, what I'm trying to say is I think Cody is kind of a natural fit for what the TNT title needs to be moving forward on TV. And if you put it on Lance Archer, he's going to be a dominating champion. But, I mean, there's more for Cody in terms of that title than there would be for Lance as far as him being the heel to another babyface,
Archer's going to benefit more if he beats Cody after Cody's had a little bit of a reign for that title. To just come out and win it and be the inaugural champion and then be paraded around as the inaugural TV champion, everybody's going to say, who is this guy?
It would even, I'm not saying that because this would be a total WWE thing to do, him losing a fucking championship match and then being put in a world championship match the very next week. But Lance Archer could lose this, which is nothing more than a final. He's won the right to be here. He was in the tournament. But I could see Jon Moxley and Lance Archer and the history that they have, that being brought to television. That could be another opponent lined up for Moxley. He could eventually take the title of Jon Moxley. We don't fucking know,
It could. You know what I would do? After I have Cody win the TV title, I would have Archer do what everyone should do when they lose a title match: is go to the bottom of the barrel, back of the line, and I'm gonna have Archer dominate all the way back up to Cody, and then he can beat him. You think about where he came in. He came in kind of just in the middle of it, in the heat of it, and then he was kind of just skyrocketed to the top. I'm not gonna put a title on him right away. Gonna have him lose in very nice, convincing fashion. But then I'm gonna have him go back to the bottom, and I'm gonna have him just tear through the league and get back to the top again. And we're not gonna Strowman him. The next time he gets to a title shot, he's gonna win. So that's what I would do with Archer.
That's exactly what I would do too. I mean, I'm already envisioning him against guys like Luchasaurus. Imagine him getting a big win over Luchasaurus and catapulting himself.
I was just gonna say. Yep, I was gonna say Luchasaurus. Yep, Exactly.
So that's going to be an interesting match at Double or Nothing. The one match I'm definitely going to be paying most attention to is the Cody Lance Archer match for the TNT Championship on May 23rd. 23rd. Holy shit, I can't even speak.
23rd.
23rd. Sound like a fucking goon tonight. May 23rd at Double or Nothing. So before we move on, guys, I want to mention that the podcast tonight is brought to you by my good friends over at Audible, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Make sure you guys go out and get your free audio book. 30 days free and one free audio book using our unique link. I know there's a lot of, Jim Ross fans out there. You guys can get Jim Ross's new book, Under the Black Hat, for free using our link. It's a great way to support the show. Great way to support my friends over at Audible as well. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Speaking of Jon Moxley, we got Jon Moxley versus Frankie Kazarian. And this one went 16 minutes. With Jon Moxley getting the win with a paradigm shift. I don't want to go over move for move, but we'll go over how we got to that point. Fast forwarding to the end, this was all over the place. Kazarian hit a missile dropkick, and he used a slingshot DDT for a very close near fall. Moxley blocked the neck breaker, hit a release German suplex. Kazarian hit a backstabber, used an unprettier, which looked great for a 2 count. They traded strikes, then they traded woo drop kicks. Kazarian hooked on a knee bar and traded Moxley's arms as well, or trapped Moxley's arms. Moxley kicked out of the hold. Kazarian hit a leg slice in the ropes, and Moxley rolled to the apron. Kazarian hit a suplex, and then they traded strikes again back and forth. Moxley hit a lariat. Kazarian used quick cradles for a couple of near falls, then suplexed Moxley into the buckle. Finish saw Kazarian missing a diving attack off the top rope. Moxley then hit the paradigm shift out of nowhere for the victory in 16 minutes. Before we get into what happened at the end of the match, what did you think about this match? What did you think about how they portrayed Frankie Kazarian? Was it another instance of a match going too long when it didn't need to be? Because does anybody really believe that they're going to be pushing Frankie Kazarian? And does this take away a little bit from Moxley being that rough and tough, badass world heavyweight champion that we all kind of envision him to be?
Yeah, I like Frankie. I don't like Frankie necessarily individually. I like him with Scorpio. And just Scorpio. I think the two of them are a great tag team.
I think we all knew he was a great wrestler before this, but this proved that he's a great fucking professional wrestler.
Yeah, he's a great wrestler, man. Nobody on the planet believed that he was in the same category, the same bracket, the same league as Jon Moxley, especially as he sits now as champion. So yeah, this match went way too long. And it kind of felt like it went too long. I mean, they didn't have great chemistry. I mean, it just didn't feel right. I mean, every twist and turn, every move, every pinfall, nobody was sitting there saying, oh man, Frankie might win. No. I mean, so 16 was, so I'm not saying they shouldn't have been faced, they shouldn't have been pitted against each other, but a 16-minute match was ridiculous. I mean, I don't want to say squash them, but 5-6 minutes tops. Done.
Yeah, there was no real rivalry there. There was no real, I guess there was no real stakes on the line here. It was not something that was brewing over a couple weeks. It was just thrown together. 16 minutes. It's interesting to see Kazarian portrayed in this manner, though I don't think they're going to do anything with him. It's also interesting, on the other hand, to see Moxley just have a straight-up wrestling match, because we know he can go, too, with the best of them. But there was no real stakes in this match. And after the match, Moxley celebrated, and 7 masked Dark Order members came out and attacked Moxley after the match was over. Daniels and Sky ran out for the save, and they were overwhelmed. The numbers game caught up to them. Brody Lee then walked out to the stage. He bashed Daniels in the face with a chair. Brody then attacked Moxley with clotheslines as the Dark Order members held him up. Ross then said he was hungry for success, clearly because of where he came from. Brody stood over Moxley with a microphone in hand and said he is there to answer the bounty that Moxley put on his head last week. He said there is no crowd to save him or energy to lift him up. He said the Dark Order is the energy he feels now. He said he is the leader who makes lives extraordinary. He said any of his followers will stand up and sacrifice for him. And he said he appreciates Moxley making himself available to them tonight. He said Moxley is the unfortunate soul who has come into possession of something he wants and desires and ultimately needs. He said Evil Uno tells him that he is a very reasonable man. Speaking of Moxley, Evil Uno said Moxley is a very reasonable man. He said he is the crown jewel of pro wrestling, and he challenged him to a title match. He said doesn't know if he's an actor or a movie star or an MMA fighter or a rebel or just a scared little fatherless boy from Cincinnati. So there you go with the, I guess, the realism thrown into there. Answer my challenge, Moxley, or we will make you. So he threw the microphone down, and the microphone was positioned perfectly to where Moxley was laying on the floor. And he spoke into the microphone, and Moxley coughed, and he was gasping for breath, and he spit up what looked to be a tooth. He was saying, dude, all you had to do was ask. And then he left, and Moxley sat up, and Brodie gave him a big running boot to the face, and the Dark Order then attacked Moxley again. Now, this answers the question of who Moxley's facing at Double or Nothing in defense of his AEW championship. And even though it's literally out of nowhere, we got Brody Lee, who is undefeated, who has been a dominant force all through AEW Dynamite so far since he's debuted. And it's two WWE guys, ex-WWE guys, fighting over AEW's biggest prize. I guess you could have said the same thing about Jericho and Moxley as well. But now we got another match for the AEW Championship, and it's Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper, and Jon Moxley. The one thing that immediately came to my head, and I'm sure you thought the same thing as well, was, is AEW booking themselves into a corner here? Do you take the title off of Moxley and put it on Brody Lee, or do you give the title to Brody Lee and end Moxley's title reign? What do you do?
This is they've booked themselves into a complete corner.
Moxley either wins the championship and Brody Lee looks like he's kind of lost already, or Brody Lee wins the championship and Moxley's reign ends with barely anything under his belt.
This has to be a DQ. I mean, I'm thinking Dark Order comes in and interferes. I mean, what are you gonna do? Have him losing his first pay-per-view match? You can't end Moxley's title reign already. I mean, I don't know how they get out of this.
I don't really. I was perplexed by this decision. I really even now don't even know what to make of it. I'm not saying that the match is gonna have. I'm not saying the match is gonna be bad, because dating back to what these guys did with the Shield versus the Wyatts, I'm sure the chemistry is there. I'm sure these guys are gonna come up and devise up a great match just to kind of prove everybody wrong. This is Brody Lee's coming out party, his literal coming out party. This is his big moment. To show everybody in WWE, you fucked up. You missed the boat on me. This is a big deal. But I don't know how they get themselves out of this. If Brody Lee loses this and it's a straight up loss, what does that do for the Dark Order? Because they put so much stock in the unveiling of Brody Lee for the Dark Order as the Exalted One. The overall group has not really had any real momentum, being that the pandemic hit and it kind of took away from everything that they had planned. I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Why is Brody Lee getting a title match already?
That's a good question.
He just got here.
Well, he's undefeated. He's undefeated.
He just got here.
I know he just got here. He hasn't beaten anybody of note either. I don't know.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense to me. I told you. This doesn't make any sense to me.
You hired me at AEW tonight. I'm undefeated.
I don't know.
I'm undefeated. You haven't faced anybody. It's just too soon. It's too soon.
Is it done out of desperation because they needed a title match? Was it Tony Khan looking at his roster? Well, why? Guys, I got nobody else. I need something to compliment Cody and Lance Archer, and I got nothing else. I can't do Jericho again. Jericho's probably going one-on-one with Matt Hardy, right? Who is he? Who does he got?
He has plenty of people. It just nothing makes sense right now because they spent no time over the last few weeks building up an opponent for him. We haven't heard from him since the epidemic and everything.
It's either this, what we got tonight, or Moxley versus MJF. What would you rather have? You rather have a one-off match here with Brody Lee and some fuck finish, or would you rather have MJF in an empty arena against Moxley?
Why is it only between those guys? They have plenty of people. Oh God, I don't know. I haven't thought about it till right now, but it's got to be somebody.
That's capable of a Double or Nothing pay-per-view main event?
Yeah, it's gotta be. I don't know. Let me see. Think about it. Again, I hadn't thought about it till right now, but it can't. They've got plenty of people. Where in the hell is Pac?
That's a good. Why he might be stuck in the UK. The travel ban is still in effect.
It won't be in effect by the time Double or Nothing comes around.
Same thing happens with Pentagon and Phoenix. Where the fuck are they at?
Where are they at? Yeah, they've got people. The Pac will fit just fine. They can promo each other from across the pond and have them show up at the pay-per-view.
How do you make sense of
be
that,
believable?
How would you make sense of Pac or Pac and Moxley?
I'll make sense of it. Give me a few minutes. I just thought about it 30 seconds ago. It can't be too bad. But no. To have it make sense tonight, no, you're not gonna have it make sense in one night. But they've had weeks to anticipate Double or Nothing, get ready for an opponent for Moxley. You could have started promos over the. You could have did them post edit and added in Pac promos over Moxley and everything else. They've done it before. It's not the worst thing in the world. Plus, everybody would understand because of the situation currently going on in the world, while we're getting a promo main event package because of what's going on in the world. As long as we get those guys live at the pay-per-view, it will work. But this match this just makes no sense with Brody Lee. They're going to kill everything that they built up. And I watched Dark this week. Did you watch Dark this week?
No, I haven't watched one episode of Dark since it aired.
I watched Dark this week. Clearly, they've made it abundantly clear what they're trying to do with the Dark Order.
Which is what?
What they're trying to do is Brody Lee is Vince McMahon, obviously. And what they're doing is everybody in the Dark Order are WWE employees. They're all WWE wrestlers. He's treating them all like wrestlers. So in Dark, we had a match with number 10 and some guy and everything else. And Brody comes down, and what happens is we had I think it was Cody. Yeah, we had Cody on commentary. And he was painting the picture, man. He was letting it be known that Brody treats everybody in the Dark Order basically the same way Vince treats his wrestlers in WWE. You go back and see it. The innuendo was strong in this one. Basically, everyone in the Dark Order is they're treated the same way that Vince treats people in WWE. It was kind of hilarious. So I see where they're going with it, but now I don't see how they're gonna book themselves out of that, putting them against Moxley so soon. He earned no time. What's his record? And even if his record's great and perfectly and no blemishes on it, he's beaten nobody.
I think he's
how was this guy in a title match?
4-0, 5-0, I think.
Yeah, all jobbers.
All bums though. I think the most notable guy he's beaten was Marco Stunt.
I don't get how they're justifying this title match right now.
Well, it's something that needed to. I guess I want to say it's done out of left field just to compliment Cody and Lance Archer. I have no idea. Hopefully, we'll find out more next week on Dynamite. So we'll see what happens there. Should be interesting how they play up Moxley and Brody Lee as well with the history that they had, because obviously this isn't the first time they're going to be in the ring together. So I wonder if they're going to bring that into play in the build in the last couple of weeks we got till Double or Nothing. Speaking of,
wait, you asked who else? What is Jericho doing?
I just
he
said
never got his
Jericho's
rematch.
Probably going one-on-one with Matt Hardy at the pay-per-view.
Oh, fuck that.
Fuck that.
He mentioned that he was entitled to some kind of rematch. They gotta
continue building blood and guts because it's eventually going to happen, right?
Well, not before they finish building the pay-per-view that they're building towards. One thing at a time.
I know, but the Inner Circle is feuding with the Elite right now.
And at Blood and Guts, they're not building towards Blood and Guts right now.
I know, but
right
Blood
now
and Guts is eventually going to happen. Is what I'm saying.
They can build to that after the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, but they could build that after the pay-per-view, but the Inner Circle and the Elite have still been feuding on television. That was the main event for Blood and Guts. They just took the cage out, and both factions are still feuding.
There's got to be somebody else for Moxley. Again, I'm just not thinking.
Why don't we just give Pineapple fucking Pete the world championship and call it a day, please? Why don't we do that?
I love Pineapple Pete.
Pineapple Pete is the world champion.
I fucking love Pineapple Pete.
Well, you got to
Give him the title.
into it with Jericho. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Fucking awesome.
Well, Brandi was actually addressing Jake Roberts and Lance Archer. She said, "It's not 1991. I wish it was." And told Jake to keep her name out of his dirty little mouth. She said she is the chief brand officer of AEW, and she won't let Jake and Archer act like they know their family. She said she is not what Jake had described her as. She is not Monica to Bill or Cleopatra to, the King of Egypt, whatever she was talking about. But Brandi comes off, man. I don't know if you get this vibe with Brandi. I thought it was filmed great. I thought it came off great. It sounded great. Brandi just comes off the way she delivers it. It's almost overly scripted, It doesn't sound like it's natural or genuine. And I find it funny that, the natural, right? The natural.
Yeah.
And nothing about Brandi is natural.
No, yeah. I said this too about Brandi. It seems like she's still trying to find her role on TV here. I mean, the Nightmare Collective that failed. They got her out there with QT. They had her coming out with Cody a little bit. She's still trying to find her niche. It seems, and to the point where it seems like they're forcing her into things. I don't necessarily associate her with QT. I'm not sure why she's more invested in him and Dustin over her husband. I don't know what they're trying to do with it, but it seems like they don't know either, because nothing is fit yet. Nothing is fit from what she's done as it stands right now, a year and a half into the company. She's still trying to find her niche in the company on TV.
Yeah, which, at this point, if she don't have her fucking role on television or place on television yet, what the fuck are they doing with her? But
stay off.
Yeah. The Natural Nightmares, and you figure that Brandi would have a little bit more of a natural, vibe, just shooting the shit via a promo, but it didn't come off to me that way. She's not going to really play a factor. Well, I guess she now played a factor after what happened, but before this, she really wasn't a factor. She was just, a piece of meat for Jake to easily prey on, and now she's involved in it, which I don't really think that was even necessary, because I think the visual, all we needed was of Dustin last week. Now Brandi's involved, and now Cody's got all this fucking fuel, and it's kind of, the more they add, the more wood they throw on the fire, the more predictable it's going to be for Cody to win the championship, because they're not going to let Brandi Rhodes, Cody's wife, just fucking lay there and get defiled at the end of this match without, Cody getting some sort of revenge on what happened here. But it was QT Marshall with Brandi and the Natural Nightmare. She is, the manager of this new tag team with QT and Dustin against Lance Archer. Obviously, you guys know how this ended up. Archer wins in 7 minutes. Marshall got some offense. Don't know why this went 7 minutes. It should have went fucking 3 minutes, just like all the rest of them. But Archer wins in 7 minutes. After the match, Britt Baker got involved here. Your favorite person. Brandi took Britt Baker's shoe during the match and threw it somewhere deep in the distance at Daly's place. She threw the shoe, and then after the match, Britt Baker gave Brandi a DDT on the floor. She then threw Brandi into the ring. Jake was wearing a face mask, and he entered the ring, and he carried what was a snake into the ring. And he put the snake over the body of Brandi, who was knocked out, and he mounted her in a very sexual position, and he let the snake just slither all over her face and all over her chest. At one point, the snake was laying in between her legs. Shivani said this is more fuel for the fire in the championship match at Double or Nothing. Ross said that this is the symbolism for disrespect and being distasteful. So I thought this was fucking fantastic. If Brandi's going to be laid out and mounted by Jake the Snake Roberts while he's wearing a face mask and he has a 20-foot snake just crawling all over her, slithering all over her, I'm fine by that. I thought this was great. But like I said, I think it makes it a little bit predictable for Cody to eventually win the TNT Championship. What did you think of this segment, and was this perfectly done?
I like the spot. I'm a big fan of Jake and the old school Jake, man. I can't say anything bad about the spot and the snake and everything else. I like how they made it a point to make it clear as to why Cody wasn't showing up to help. Why wasn't Cody showing up to help his wife who was getting attacked with a snake?
I did yell that out loud myself. I'm like, where the fuck is Cody? And then Jim Ross apparently said that the talent at Daly's Place needs to take those golf carts back and forth because the locker room is on the all the way on the other side of the arena. So there was no TVs back there, he said. I don't know if he was just trying to cover up for the fact that Cody wasn't out there or that's a legit thing. I'm going to take his word for it, but that's the reason why Jim Ross said that Cody wasn't out there.
Really? Because he also said Cody was in the shower.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So you gotta pick out which lie they're gonna go with. Not only that, let's say Cody was in the shower on the other side of the building by 4 golf carts. Where was QT Marshall and Justin?
QT and Dustin.
And Dustin.
I don't know. Well, Dustin was fucking destroyed last week, and QT Marshall, he got destroyed tonight. What do you want him to do?
Nobody in Gorilla can come out and help the chief brand officer. I get it. The spot was cool. I mean, I love to see the snake back. We haven't seen that in years, man. That was awesome within itself. So I can't be bad about that. That was great.
Here's a counterpoint to your point. I mean, who the fuck's gonna go out there when Lance Archer is the murder hawk? He's the real monster among men. You want to go out there and fucking stand toe to toe with Lance Archer, and Jake with a fucking snake? Nobody knows if that's devenomized or not.
Well, put it like this. Would I feel comfortable going out there and standing face to face with those guys? No. But what if it was my mom or somebody that I loved in that ring? I'll go take the beating.
I guess Cody's sleeping on the couch tonight. What can I say?
This is true. He's in the shower. He's good. But I want to know where QT and Dustin were.
But
JR covered Cody. He's excused.
Well, it was a good segment. I thought it was something that made me pop because obviously I grew up with Jake the Snake. And, the only thing was missing was the bag, like you said, like you texted me tonight. Like I would have definitely appreciated him coming out with the bag and like, oh my God, is he gonna really do it? Just give people that anticipation. But he ended up carrying the fucking thing out from God knows where. But
and maybe that was a no crowd thing too, because why there's no crowd involved. Just bring the snake out.
I could see that.
But you get a crowd full of people.
Imagine this with a crowd. How big of a pop that would have been.
Yeah. Everybody in the crowd, man, come out with that bag and hover over with the bag. Don't show the snake yet. Make the crowd sit and wonder if he actually has one. And then, like they did back in the 80s, man, just at this last second, just dump that big-ass python right on top of her, man. And, oh, man, that would have popped the crowd big time.
Well, it definitely made me a little bit more interested in the match than I already was. So we'll see what happens next week. Apparently, Lance Archer is going to be sitting down with a exclusive one-on-one with possibly Jim Ross. We don't know yet, but he's going to be interviewed with Jake, so it's going to be great. And they'll further the story there with him and Cody. We got a match announcement. Double or Nothing lineup is coming to fruition. We got a casino ladder match.
Hold on one second. Let me pause you for 1 second. Let me see. This is how redundant this spot match kind of seems. Let me ask you this: what does this spot with Lance Archer and Brandy? What does this spot do that they didn't already just do last week with Dustin and the Bloody and the Crimson Mask and everything?
Nothing.
It gave Cody the motive that he. I mean,
it did nothing. It made it a little bit more predictable. Everything about this TNT Championship tournament is fucking predictable to me. Now I don't give a shit who wins. I'm gonna enjoy the match because I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm just I do agree with you. Like what did tonight do that last week didn't do? It's just another way for them to get another week of television under their belt. That's all it was. Really?
Yeah, Cody has to win now because if not, he looks like the biggest putz.
Well, if he doesn't win, I'm assuming there'll be divorce papers in the mail.
Yeah, man. Drop a snake on me, you don't win the match. I'm divorcing you. That's just me.
Like I said, it's gonna be an interesting match. We got the Double or Nothing casino ladder match, and the winner of this match is getting an AEW World Title shot. So this is, I guess, their version of Money in the Bank. We got two Money in the Banks this month. Who's going to do it better? Titan Tower or AEW? We don't know. I don't know, man. If somebody goes off Titan Tower, man, I'm voting that one the winner. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know who the fuck's going off Titan Tower, but we'll see.
Somebody better go off.
But, no news on this has been announced so far. No participants announced. We'll find that next week, as Jim Ross said. Taz interviewed Darby Allin backstage. He asked how Darby was feeling. Darby was hanging his head and just very disappointed. He didn't say anything. He said he'd love to help him off camera. I know you lost the match for yourself last week. You got yourself pinned. You pinned yourself. And Taz was kind of just giving him that New York, no bullshit attitude. Listen, motherfucker, you pinned yourself. How you feeling? He didn't answer him, and Darby walked away. That was pretty much it. Are you taking tips from Taz while he's interviewing you there? That's what I want to know.
No.
Either he suplexes you into the fucking crates or you answer his questions. What are you doing?
I know, right?
Anyway.
I'm not listening to Taz, dude. Taz is awesome. Taz didn't have the greatest win-loss record over his career, though.
Yeah, well, he's an ECW legend. If that
there you
amounts
go.
to anything. Ross called an interesting development here. We got Brody Lee versus Christopher Daniels for next week. We got MJF in his first match since injury. Jurassic Express versus Best Friends, which should be good. Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. Fatal 4, which undoubtedly will crown a number one contender for Nyla Rose. And Chris Jericho will be one-on-one against Pineapple Pete with Jake the Snake and Lance Archer in an exclusive interview with, I'm assuming, Jim Ross.
I spell 6 stars coming.
Pineapple Pete, man. Jericho was on commentary, made this guy's whole fucking career. Gave him a nickname that he probably didn't even fucking have any clue about who this guy was. He was wearing fucking pineapples on his shirt. There you go, Pineapple Pete. Now you're a superstar on AEW television.
Main eventer.
Everything this guy says, legitimately, it's fact at this point. Turns the
Done.
You know?
Love it.
Then we got the main event. Broken Matt Hardy, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, and Sammy G, the Le Sex Gods, with Jake Hager. Street fight. This was crazy. This was everything you would want out of a street fight. Everything you love about a street fight. This was absolutely crazy. Now, I'm going to skip right to the part where they go to the back because the only thing that really happened in the ring was Matt Hardy, version 1 Matt Hardy, jumped off a ladder through a table that Sammy Guevara was laying on. That was the big spot of that, I guess, 10-minute open of the match. Then we got Pineapple Pete being shoved by Chris Jericho, and that escalated a little bit. Jake Hager got involved, and then we get all 4 of these guys to the back, and they brawled into the outskirts of Daly's place. Now, Jericho used the trash can, and he hit Hardy with a bag of ice. That shit had to fucking hurt. Yeah, you're not taught to take a fucking hit by another guy with a bag of ice. That shit had to fucking sting Hardy. I don't give a shit who he is. Guevara slammed Omega into an ATM and then supposedly out-popped money, and then Excalibur says, "Oh, that's how you do it." So Sammy G got himself some green. Jake Hager and Jericho shut Hardy into a freezer. Locked this guy legitimately in a fucking freezer where the bag of ice came from. So he laid in there. So we got Jericho doing that to Hardy with Hager. Omega slammed Jericho into a golf cart and then into some trash cans. Omega slammed Hager into some barricades because he was being a fucking pest. He was just getting involved when he didn't have to. And he was legal, though. Everything was legal here, but Omega took him out. Jericho suplexed Omega onto the barricade. Jericho then used the traffic cone, and he put it on his head. He acted like a dunce and then took it off his head and hit Omega with the traffic cone. Hardy then escaped from the freezer, and he came out as Damascus, Matt Hardy. So he escaped the freezer. He drove the golf cart into Jericho, grazed Jericho. Jericho sold it. Then Omega jumped into the golf cart with Hardy, and Omega then ran into Guevara, who absolutely got blasted with that shit.
Killed him.
Fucking absolutely. It's like Guevara lunged at the fucking golf cart, like he wanted to, like he thought he had superpowers. He could take the fucking thing out with some finishing move. Couldn't do it. Guevara took a hell of a bump there. Actually hit the beam that was encased on the cart. Ridiculous. Omega climbed.
He hit the roll bar.
Omega climbed into the. He climbed a hydraulic lift, and this was the part where I said, "Holy shit!" There was a table down below. Apparently, he wanted a moonsault through the table, but that didn't happen. So the Inner Circle comes over and grabs Hardy, and Omega lifts the hydraulics on this thing. In one fucking swoop, Omega just jumped from the foundation of the hydraulic cart or on top of the banister of this thing and jumped backwards. Like, I'm not even going to do it justice to talk about it because I can't do it. But I swear to you, man, there was no room for error. He either jumped and executed the greatest fucking moonsault ever, like I said before, or jumped and absolutely fucking missed completely and killed himself. And there'd be nobody there to catch him. Fucking ridiculous, that moonsault by Omega. Then Omega went for
zero room.
Say again?
There was zero room for error here.
None whatsoever. Omega went for a one-winged angel on Jericho. Santana and Ortiz then ran in for the save, obviously, because there's no rules. Hager, Santana, and Ortiz then hit a triple powerbomb on Hardy through a table. They shielded him. Omega got triple powerbombed onto the roof of the golf cart. They shielded him as well. Jericho hit Omega with the Judas Effect. Guevara and Jericho both covered Omega for the pin. And then in the closing scene of the show, the Inner Circle posed in front of the scoreboard in the back. I believe that's where the facility is, where the Jaguars train. And on the scoreboard, above the fucking seated stadium there, said the Inner Circle in highlight. And they gave the middle finger as the show went off the air. This was one of the most fun, one of the most brutal, and one of the best street fights that I think you will see on regular wrestling TV. It might be one of the best matches of the entire year, to be quite honest with you.
It was awesome, man. It was so fun. I mean, like I alluded to earlier, I was kind of worried when I looked at the match and everything else, and I was kind of worried that Sammy was gonna eat that pin. And Sammy has been losing way too much. He can't just win on dark. He needs to win on TV a little bit more, just so that when he is in the ring against a big name and he does take an L, that L means something for the guy who won. Right now, I mean, the way it sits, Sammy just keeps losing. He can't keep doing it. He has to win and in dominant fashion soon.
What does he do at the pay-per-view?
Who is he in there with? He is with, I forget. He has a match, though, doesn't he?
Sammy?
Yeah, doesn't he?
No, he didn't get maybe he's in the ladder match. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he's in that ladder match.
Maybe that was it. I thought he had a match. I could be mistaken.
Maybe him and Darby will be in the ladder match. Darby doesn't have a match either.
That'd be awesome. I love Sammy, and I don't have a problem with him losing. I mean, I like how he loses, and it's like he's the, I want to say like maybe like the Robin to Jericho's Batman. You know, I love him being like that sidekick, but he has to win, man. He has to win to stay evil. I mean, otherwise he's just a jobber that loses all the time. So I was kind of hoping he wouldn't, but then when I saw that he kicked out of that table spot, I'm like, okay, great. He's not losing this match. I don't know who is. When I saw him kick out, okay, maybe it's Kenny. Maybe Kenny's going to lose. And sure enough, Kenny lost.
Man, everything about this match just, you know, some people are going to like it. Some people are going to, you know, hate on it for whatever reason. You're either pro AEW or pro NXT. It doesn't matter. But I think there's one match out of everything we've seen so far with these empty arena shows, how lifeless WWE could be. And with the guidelines now that obviously Tony Khan is using to his advantage, we've seen what look to be regular fans. They might be friends and family, I don't know, but you know, they're not anybody that we know that we see on television or anybody that we would know that's in the back in the dressing room or in the locker room. It looked to be fans. I seen a whole family, father, a wife, and two sons there with masks on, just standing there. The ambiance, the life, the sound, though minimal and not the way we want it, it brought to life not only this entire show, but this match. It made that entire back brawl in the outer skirts of the stadium just fucking, it brought it to life. It was great. It enhanced it totally. And the one thing that you mentioned to me via text when we were watching the show together, it looked like everybody was fucking having fun. It looks like nobody's having fun on NXT or Raw or SmackDown. It's like, they show up to work, they're disgruntled, they got to go through the 2 hours, 3 hours, and then go fucking home or sit through another 2 or 3 hour taping and just not even want to be there. These guys legitimately had a fucking blast tonight, and that was the main difference. If there's one thing out of everything we've seen with these empty arena shows, Tonight, that just came through the television.
They did. I mean, you sent me the clip of MJF and Spears ringside during the commercial break. Maybe it was, I think, but they were having so much fun. They posted a live clip, a clip of them ringside during the match, and these guys were just having fun. You don't get to, I mean, if you see the look on their faces and their reaction, you don't get to see that in WWE anymore. It's all business all the time, and if you mess up, you're not happy. These guys were enjoying the wrestling show. I mean, maybe I'm taking that for granted because we haven't seen live crowds in a while, but it's so good to see people ringside enjoying the show and not empty. You get two people in the ring, a ref, a camera guy, and one announcer. That's not fun. That's not fun. And it's not business because the matches don't need to happen for business. It's not the NBA, the NFL. The matches don't need to happen. And nobody's having fun. Why are we doing this?
You know, Hurricane Holmes came out today and said that he was one of the guys that got furloughed. And he said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you on Twitter. He's like, these shows suck. Pro wrestling sucks. WWE sucks with no fans. And I'm looking at AEW, and Tony Khan is on Twitter today. And I know WWE's been testing, but they don't say anything about it. They don't talk about it because they're woven into the fabric of society, and they want to bring smiles to people's faces. Meanwhile, the ratings are fucking lower than they ever been. But WWE, yeah, they're testing. But Tony Khan has come out and just openly praised people by name that have worked these shows. And he came out on Twitter today and said that, you know, they followed all the Florida State guidelines. They are within the guidelines. They tested everybody for CV-19 today, and I don't know what the major difference is backstage because clearly I don't work for these companies. But from what we can see, it's definitely the higher ups, you know, and the way that they lead being a huge difference. Tony Khan has been so vocal. And I read reports about how vocal the roster was about Tony and the management of AEW and how they've just gone out of their way to care for them, making it so that they could have a fun time and a good time like they did tonight. That's the clear difference. Between
it appears
them and
that
WWE.
way.
Management sucks. Management doesn't know how to have fun. It's like WWE's the old aging fucking grandparents that don't want to have any fun, that take the fucking candy and the television away at a certain hour for the grandkids. Go to bed, honey. You know. And it's like the AEW's the cool grandkids. Stay up and fucking have a midnight snack or whatever, you know?
Well, that's the vibe I get after listening to the Revolt on Talk is Jericho today. I mean, it's the no fun league. They just don't want you to have fun. They don't want you to enjoy yourself. And if they find out that you are, it's change it, stop it, bench them, sit them down. No fun.
Oh, you're getting over by yourself? We can't have that. You know?
Can't have that. It's kind of depressing, man. It's one of the things I talk to my wife about this all the time. You know, wrestling companies spend years and lots of money trying to get the fans invested in these characters and in these people, and they want you to love them so that you'll come and spend money to see them and everything else and buy their merchandise. But then the company screws them over, and then they want the fans to now forget about those wrestlers right when they say so and stop caring about them altogether. That's not how it works. You want us to love these guys, then we do, and then you decide to bury them, and then you decide to treat them like crap, and then you fire them, and then you do all this stuff to them, and then you call the fans smarks and idiots and dumb for caring too much and everything else. Which is it? Do you want us to care or not care?
Here's a question for you before we get out of here. What do you think? Just looking at the ratings tank on WWE with Raw and SmackDown, do you think, I probably know your answer before you even give it to me, but do you think that people in WWE are looking at this, Vince McMahon namely, they're looking at these ratings, and they're looking at the people who are just so sick of watching pro wrestling in its current state? Is somewhere in Vince McMahon's mind, is it clicking that the fans are more important than he actually realized? And do you think that when the fans come back to television, or even now because the ratings are so shitty, that Vince is going to kind of ease up on how he thinks of the fans, or ease up on how he talks down about the fans and not wanting to do anything for the fans? Because clearly we, as a fan base, are the lifeblood of pro wrestling. And for every fucking person out there that shits on a fan, that complains about the fans, that you're not a part of the business, you don't do what we do, when you're in the ring doing what we do, then you're allowed to talk. Is everybody's tone going to change after all of this is over? About the fans?
No. No, man. Vince, I don't want to say Vince doesn't care about the fan. He cares about the fans to an extent. I mean, obviously, it's the source of his income, but I don't think he cares or is gonna care because he has too many people surrounding him, telling him that his ideas are awesome. So it doesn't matter what the ratings say. It doesn't matter what the fans are perceived to be thinking. He's still gonna go around and say things like, "Oh, well, the ratings are down because Brock Lesnar is not on TV." And nobody is going to have the sense to ask him, well, when Brock was on TV, were the ratings high? Nobody says these things. He heard the conference call. Well, the ratings are down because Brock's off of TV. And everybody just said, oh, okay. And they moved on to the next question. Like, stop. Wait a minute. That's not a reason. He has too many yes men. And not only that, they are afraid to speak up and say something because you could end up like a Bischoff. You can end up like anybody else who doesn't go along. You could end up like a Barrios and everybody. I mean, if you don't go along with his idea, I don't care who you are in the company. You could be an EVP or you can be No Way Jose. If you don't agree with him, you're gonna be fired. There is no other avenue. There's no other choice. So that's why people around him just agree with him. They might say something, and then the second he says, "No, I don't like that." So, oh, okay, yes, sir. Back to this then, and it just is what it is. I mean, you see his mentality. If you don't sign his 5-year deal, he's gonna bury you. You're gonna be on TV in costumes and everything else. He doesn't care about what the fans want. It's gonna be what he thinks is best.
One final thing, I seen Jim Ross, or I heard Jim Ross tonight mention Jeff Hardy on commentary when talking about Matt and just the old school, Hardy boys and Matt jumping off the ladder through Sammy through the table. And he's like, those ladder matches were some of the most important, matches I've ever called, and et cetera, with Matt and Jeff and the Hardy boys. Just to give you just one final, cherry on top of the cake about how AEW operates and WWE operates, and how AEW is just a lot more cooler than the operation that is World Wrestling Entertainment. They're not afraid to mention Jeff Hardy. They're not worried about WWE. Meanwhile, WWE is trying to erase Matt Hardy from certain video clips and video packages to promote Jeff Hardy. And the reason why they're pushing Jeff Hardy is because they want to portray Jeff as the better brother, the cooler brother. Oh, look, we got Jeff. He's going to be a world champion, or he's going to be in a world championship program. Meanwhile, Matt's over there playing cosplay, and he's fucking deleting people, He's got fucked up hair. Yeah. It's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, look at that. Jim Ross not afraid to mention, or Tony Khan not afraid to mention Jeff Hardy, who's a WWE employee. They don't give a shit. It's lax. That's the way. That's what makes a good working environment. WWE, it's one of those situations where I read Tom Phillips couldn't say non-title match on Monday Night Raw in regards to the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders. He had to wait till after the match to mention that it was a match that the titles weren't on the line. He wasn't allowed to say non-title match during commentary. Everybody was confused about, I thought this was a title match. Viking Raiders last week said, I want a title match with these guys, and here the match is happening, and everybody was under the impression it was a title match, yet they can't say the things that they need to say, because it's Vince McMahonisms,
They want to keep your interest piqued and not have people say, oh, it's not a title match.
Meanwhile, my fucking dinner's on the fucking living room rug.
Yeah, Vince and WWE, they're very insecure. Very insecure. They're the top wrestling organization on the planet. And they don't want a low level tag team to go to another wrestling company just because. Now, just because you might be more over than you were with us. Just because. Now, I understand business. I can understand saying, hey, no, Roman, who they've blackballed as well. No, Roman, you can't get up and go to AEW and everything else. Because why? Because we've invested too much time and money into this character, and you want, yeah, I get that part. But the revival, you just want them to stay, and you don't even want them on your TV programming. You just don't want them anywhere else to be happy. It's petty. That's petty.
Well,
and you look petty. You will look like a bigger person and a bigger company if you just granted releases to whoever wanted them. I would just flood AEW with all the talent that they could think that they could pick up, and then make them say, okay, we can't pick up everybody. You guys got to stay in limbo. And then people in WWE will say, well, I'm not going to ask for my release because you're not guaranteed a spot at AEW or anywhere else. He's let too many people go.
That's a crazy situation, man. Obviously, I'll have more on all of this. I just wanted to give you guys, pertinent topical conversation to what we were talking about with the differences between AEW and NXT, because that street fight really just was a pronounced just eye-opener about the vast differences between WWE television and the way they're handling this pandemic and AEW, and the differences between the talent on each show. So if you guys felt that, let me know down in the comments. And that is a close on our AEW Dynamite review here for May 6th, 2020. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you guys hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe as always, and let me know what you think down in the comments. If you guys want to see Jesse back again next week, maybe we'll go live, because now I got to sit here and edit this, and I got to make it all look pretty and sound good and all this shit. So maybe next week.
Don't vote me off, please.
What was that?
Don't vote me off. Don't treat me like Ticket Drew, man.
No. We kept the discussion flowing here with AEW. Even though there was some WWE talk here towards the end, don't shit on Jesse because there's WWE talk. It all has to do with the topic of what we were talking about. But if you guys want to see him back next week, let me know down in the comments. Twitter at JDfromNY206. And if you guys missed any of the videos that I uploaded previously on the channel, links are down below. And then audibletrial.com/offthescript for you 30 days and one free audio book. Jesse, anything you want to add in closing before we get the hell out of here?
Man, thanks for having me, man. This is way too much fun. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's I kind of feel bad for you sometimes, because as you put these opinions out there and these people come and jump on you and say, how could you think that? Like, I'm thinking the same thing he is. I'm like, how could you not think that? What is wrong with you? Your audience is brutal sometimes.
It is what it is, man. It's like I say something and then people don't really get where I'm coming from, because it's only coming across in 140 characters on Twitter, and then they see me say it here in the manner in which I say it, and then I think I come off as an asshole, or they think I come off as an asshole, and then the more they watch me, the more they understand. It's one of those things where I can't win in any situation. I'll agree the show is good, or I'll say something that the majority is saying, and I still can't win just because people don't like me. I don't know.
No, you can't. I also don't get why there's a split community. Why are there so many AEW and WWE just detractors? It's like they just want AEW to fail just because. How can you be a fan of wrestling and want another company to fail? That makes no sense. You wish AEW failure. Say you get what you want. Say they fail. They're out of business. They're gone. And then WWE files for bankruptcy. They're gone. They're out. That is no wrestling, because you idiots voted off What is wrong with having two great wrestling companies at the same time? It's a beautiful thing for everybody. Come on, guys. Get with the program.
There you go, man. Words of wisdom. So please, no fight. AEW NXT. That's what I'm gonna do. Actually, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna watch NXT. And big night over there, but I might be live with Ticket Drew tomorrow talking about NXT, because he wants to hop back on the channel, talk WWE, which would be his place to do so, because it's WWE. We think he's an AEW fake, so we'll talk WWE tomorrow, but we'll see what happens then. Thank you guys so much for joining me again tonight. Thumbs up, and I'll see you again next week for more Dynamite as we get closer to Double or Nothing. See you guys later.